If you're watching this video, then congratulations. You've already discovered the absolute pinnacle of Austin real estate. So many of us dream about one day living on the lake, and a lot of us hold it in this view as unobtainable. But in today's video, we're going to break down why Lake Austin and Lake Travis are very attainable, go over some of the best communities, some things to consider when deciding which lake to live on, or should you even consider lakefront living in Austin in general. We're going to talk about all that today. Okay, so what the heck is all of this lakefront living all about? What's everyone talking about when they say Lake Travis, Lake Austin? What the heck is the difference? So quick history on the background of it for you. So Lake Travis and Lake Austin are the two lakes contained within the greater Austin area. Lake Travis is a large reservoir intended to catch floodwaters and store them for drier times in the area. Most of Austin's drinking water actually comes from Lake Travis. So it's not just for enjoyment, it actually is very critical to the survival of Austin, Texas in terms of providing its water. Lake Austin, on the other hand, is just a very small channel that flows from Lake Travis in the chain of highland lakes as the Colorado River makes its way to the ocean. When talking about a size comparison, these two are not even close. Lake Travis holds almost 250 billion gallons of water, while Lake Austin only holds about 3 billion. Lake Austin is a constant level body of water, however, while Lake Travis is variable. And what this means for those of you who don't live in Central Texas and see the water going up and down is because Lake Travis is used as a storage reservoir, it can vary greatly from year to year in terms of the water level. It has risen or dropped as much as 50 feet plus just in one calendar year. In the meanwhile, Lake Austin always stays at the exact same level because it's such a small amount of water in total. It's inconsequential to keep Austin at the same level as just a pass through for the river versus Lake Travis being a very large reservoir. So why the heck is living on the lake in Austin, whether it's Lake Travis or Lake Austin, so desirable? Well, it's no secret that Austin is hot. Really hot. And when you're on the water, it really negates a lot of that heat. If you can just go for a swim off the dock or take out the boat, it really changes the entire Austin experience in general. And usually the circle of Austin living that I will see is someone will move here, live here for 3 to 5 years, and then discover like, oh, this lake stuff really is something here in Austin, and that's why these properties remain so desirable. When it comes to deciding which of the two lakes is more ideal to live on for your particular scenario, location is a big thing to consider. Lake Travis sits significantly to the northwest side of Austin. Because Lake Travis is so big, parts of Austin like Lago Vista or even closer to Briarcliff in Spicewood, all the way up to almost Marble Falls is still considered Lake Travis, and you could be very far outside of Austin. So if being close to the city is very, very important, then usually Lake Austin is going to be more desirable. But because Lake Austin is so close to the city, it demands a premium. Part of that premium is the proximity. Because we see celebrities like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Tom Segura having places on Lake Austin, it's almost viewed as unobtainium these days. But there's actually a lot of instances where there are single-family homes on Lake Austin with lake access. Now, not lakefront, but lake access, and this is key, trading for between $1 million and $2 million. And I realize that's still a lot of money, but we're in 2025, and there are a lot of houses in Austin that are $1 million plus, and certainly a lot of them do not have access to the most desirable body of water in the area. A couple examples of these is communities like Green Shores, where you have a community dock and boat ramp. So anybody who lives in that HOA community can pull their boat in for the day. It's a really good option for some people. And there are houses in Green Shores that have transacted for under $1 million that have access to this ramp, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. There are also communities like the Cliff over Lake Austin, where you have individual condominium boat docks. I sold one in there recently that was in this range and had direct access on the main body of water in the lake. Also communities like the Courtyard, where you have the boat dock condominiums and you have waterfront boat docks that are owned individually by each house, but because they are shared, you can get access to Lake Austin for much less money. Lake Travis, of course, also has its own merit. Being a much larger body of water, it's better for water sports, it's better for swimming because it's deeper. The majority of Lake Austin is between 10 and 20 feet deep, so it's quite shallow, even for most of the deep parts out in the middle. And Lake Travis is very, very deep at a lot of points. points. The deepest point is a little over 250 feet deep, which is very significant for a Central Texas lake. And Lake Travis properties can actually be had for quite the bargain, depending on who you ask. Because Lake Travis is a variable level lake, there are properties that I call sometimes waterfront. And they're sometimes waterfront because sometimes when the lake is up, they are waterfront. And then sometimes when the lake is down, you just got a bunch of dirt in the backyard where the water used to be. These properties can trade for, I've seen as little as $400,000 for a single family house on a good sized lot with that lakefront access. And, you know, about 30 to 50% of the time, you will be able to access Lake Travis from the backyard of that property. But the other 70 to 50% of the time, you will not. And for some people, the discount is worth it. And being on the lake sometimes is being on the lake never. Also on Lake Travis, you have the mega estates. Some of the absolute most expensive real estate in all of Austin is located along Lake Travis, where you have these 10,000 plus square foot mega mansions. So you definitely have a lot of different options with Lake Travis and more of a breadth of options that you have with Lake Austin, just because there's so much more shoreline along the side of it. There is so much more time for developers and spec builders and even individuals getting architects to complete one-off builds to create kind of every type of house, really. If you go along a boat on Lake Travis and you look at the houses on the shore, you really see every type of house up there. So how do you know if one of these lakefront properties is for you? Well, if you're someone that, like me, loves to spend a lot of time on the lake, you love boating, especially water sports like wake surfing is awesome. Skiing is just as much fun as well. And if you're someone who really appreciates, you know, sitting at the dock on a Friday and watching the sunset over the water, I can't think of many people who wouldn't enjoy that on a frequent basis. And because we hold it as unobtainable, I think a lot of us forget that dream that Lake Austin and Lake Travis waterfront living is quite attainable. One of the keys is working with a real estate agent that knows the lakes very well. I say that not just so that you work with me. Truly, it makes a difference working with an agent that understands the lake, that understands the values. Also, there is a large percentage of properties, especially on Lake Austin, but also on Lake Travis, that transact off market in perpetuity. None of these properties ever hit the market, and it's only agents who are in the know, that know the neighborhood, know the people, spend time out on the lake, and know these things. And there's a handful of agents that fall into that category. And working with one of them is definitely going to help you obtain that property at a good price and get it in a market where you're not going to have to compete with 8 to 12 other people because these properties are so desirable. Now, I do say some of this with a bit of bias. I do live on Lake Travis myself, so take that with a grain of salt, but I also know that there is a large population of people who really enjoy the lakefront living here in Austin. So now let's jump into a couple examples of stuff that's sold on both lakes very recently so you can get a better idea of the values. So what do these properties actually transact for? Let's go through a couple different ones. Here's one that sold in Valente, and this is not an enormous sum of money. This is sub $1 million that it was listed at when it sold. There's this one that was in the Briarcliff community in Spicewood. This one was listed at $1.8 million by the time it sold, and it's a beautiful house with a very deep water dock. That's something that we talked about before, but it is very important when you're looking on Lake Travis, whether you're getting a sometimes dock or an all the time dock, whether it's very deep water that your dock is underneath or if it's shallow water and it will dry up when the lake is down. Or there's this one in Lakeway, and this was listed for a lot of money, over $4 million, but it's a beautiful house and it has a shared dock situation where all the community has a row of docks, almost their own marina built into that area. Or you have this one on Lake Austin, or you have this one on Lake Austin, about $1 million apart in price from each other, but both offering their own experiences. Now, how the heck do you know that this guy on the YouTube video knows what I'm talking about? Well, I sold all those properties. So if you would like to find your dream lake property, I would love to be the one to help you to do that. You can give me a call, you can send me an email, find me on Instagram. I would love to talk to you about making that dream a reality. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.